Just a few more weeks to get through of August camp before we've got Big Ten football on the field at the end of this month. We welcome you to the Big Ten Live Show here at the Voice of College Football. Appreciate you all stopping by. Comments and questions are welcome. We appreciate those super chat comments as well. Corey Bradder right next to me, of course. Iowa, his concentration from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Get on over there. Check out Corey's work breaking down the Hawkeyes just about every day. And Corey, it's good to see you. This is our third Big Ten Live show, I believe, and also with your Iowa show and the football side of it revving up. What is your next live assignment?
That's a good question. I think we're doing a live show, myself and a buddy of mine, Kyle Spence, who's subbed in for me on the show a time or two at some point this week, because then we have media day on Friday, and then Saturday is Kids Day, as you like to bring up. So I don't know. We'll probably have either a show tomorrow or Thursday. I do have a couple of observations on these rankings. I don't want to jump the gun, but preseason rankings came out. Was it today or yesterday? Officially, I saw them today, but
yesterday.
Yeah. Can I jump into that real quick?
Yeah.
Mark? Just to kind of. I'm curious to get your take on a couple of things. So I come at this. One of the things that you and I talked about when we decided to start this show, I come at it from a different perspective in that not only do I have a much shorter lifespan to, for as college football knowledge and perspective on the sport, but I also, like, you live and breathe the national scene all year and the Big Ten scene. And not that I don't to some extent, but during the off season, I'm very locked in to Iowa recruiting, the transfer portal, etc. And of course, you follow the Big Ten. That's why we're doing the show. But I was surprised by a few of these rankings. And I don't follow like the way too early polls that are released at the end of the college football season. They're just, to me, ridiculous, pointless, etc. I don't look at other people's rankings. I might look at yours, but in general, I'll peek at the AP and the coaches' polls once they're out. But am I the only one that was surprised to see Ohio State ahead of Penn State? I did. Maybe I'm totally like naive to those two teams and how they're perceived, but I kind of thought Penn State would be ahead of them. In fact, there were some pollsters I know early that, at least what I heard, had Penn State as their top team in the country, but Texas doubled Penn State up in first place votes. So I was a little bit surprised at a minimum that Penn State wasn't second.
I have not seen a preseason publication or website that has not predicted Texas, Penn State, or Clemson to win the national championship. And most of those are Texas and Penn State.
That's
so
yeah.
The Ohio State comparison to Penn State is, if you looked at the entire roster, does Ohio State still have a more talented roster based on recruiting rankings? Yes, it's not even debatable. Not that it's not somewhat close, but it's not debatable. But new quarterback who has no experience versus a Drew Aller who is arguably the best quarterback in the country. I think he's in that conversation. Not that he's not had his hiccups and been outstanding. And considering that Katron Allen and Nick Singleton are the best combo of running backs, something that Ohio State could have laid claim to last year, but I think Ohio State in the running back room is going to take a significant drop. Do they have talent there? Yes, they have talent, but I think losing Quinshon Judkins and Travion Henderson with what they have coming in is a significant drop off. And Penn State seems to have addressed their wide receiver woes with transfers coming in from USC, Syracuse, and Troy, and they are loaded on defense. Of course, Ohio State is as well, but man, they lost so much NFL talent. They had 14 players drafted. Penn State, if you take into account talent and production coming back and experience, they should be ranked ahead of Ohio State.
And then, there's a big drop after that. But after number 3, to find another Big Ten team, you got to go all the way down to 12. And you mentioned Clemson, that's surprise. So they got 2 first place votes, but you've seen polls where, or at least preseason rankings or predictions where they've been voted to win the national championship. That's intriguing. And I don't know what Georgia brings back. Again, I'm not an SEC guy. Don't follow the national scene like you, but they're the only other team receiving first place votes in there. Notre Dame, top 5 in the country. Oregon's a little higher than I would have expected. I guess I skipped over them when I said you don't find another Big Ten team until you get to 12. I'm still trying to process Oregon being in the conference.
Well, I didn't even catch you. I was like, yeah.
I skip right over. They don't look like Big Ten on paper. So yeah, Oregon 7. They're a little, aren't they higher ranked than? To me, I think Oregon and Indiana, you could argue there's a little bit of, like, I do think that it's noteworthy to say, look at what a team accomplished last year. They're bringing some of these guys back. But at the same time, I do think that can easily influence you and cause some bias there in the next year's rankings. So I'm a little surprised Oregon and Indiana are ranked as high as they were. And if you're an Iowa guy, which I am, you're looking at this like, oh, okay, those two games just got a little harder on paper. Maybe I'm underestimating Indiana and Oregon. Iowa gets both of those teams in Kinnick. But yeah, I don't know if what I'm saying is fair. I think where Illinois is ranked is right on. That's right where I would have hit them preseason. That's right where I would have hit Michigan preseason. And then what's past that? I just lost it on my side of the screen. 15 through 20. Yeah, again, Indiana might be a little high for my liking. And then that's basically it, right? That's all for the top 25. And then you get down into the Iowas of the world. And you got Nebraska in there receiving votes and Minnesota receiving votes. So I don't, and we talked about on the Iowa show last hour, like, yeah, I think Iowa's probably being overlooked a little bit, but I'm not going to pretend to be some expert on the Missouris and the Louisvilles of the world. I'm not, but I do think typically with an Iowa program that's bringing back as much as they are on both sides of the ball and a quarterback that should be much improved from what Iowa had at that position in recent years, I would think they're at minimum top 30. I think they check in at 33 if you count down.
Yep. We will take our first call after I make this point. I don't know that there's been a time, and if I had the time, I would research it and go back year to year to see the number of expected elite teams, and they are typically elite teams, that have first-year quarterbacks who have basically no starting experience. Out of the top 8 teams in the country, 6 of them have quarterbacks who have basically no experience. Texas, Ohio State, Georgia, Notre Dame, Oregon, Alabama, no experience at quarterback.
Yeah.
Michigan, no experience at quarterback.
Yeah, and you brought up Penn State. I mean, they're such an outlier in the national scene, not just with the contenders, but nationally. Like, it's very rare that you're going to retain any guy for that long. And Allard, is this year 4 for him? Year 3?
Yeah, it's year 4. It's his 3rd year starting.
Yeah, it's very weird. It's very rare to see the Nate Stanley stories anymore, especially with a program like Penn State. And I'm sure he got offers to go other places during the offseason.
But these pollsters are obviously, and I understand it, because I will probably, I don't know if I'm going to break down and throw out a top 25, because my whole premise of my top 25 is that there are facts. There's performance on the field to back up the top 25. So yeah. I don't.
How about a tie in the preseason poll between A&M and Iowa State? Yeah, I mean, I know ties happen, but I just think that's kind of funny. The preseason
you got that as well.
And then I know this is a Big Ten show, but let me ask you a question, Mark. Looking up top 25, and if you want to go past 25, continue this on down, you can. But looking at all of these teams listed, you and I talked about some of the bias that reportedly is present, at least with the coaches. And this is the coaches poll that we're looking at. So that bias of some coaches maybe looking only at, who they play on the schedule, and okay, I want this team ranked here. And there is some of that. Was what you said. You've talked to people who have stressed that. And on the flip side, AP voters, this is not the AP poll, but AP voters that, rank teams based on projecting what their record is going to be. Like, oh, this team's going to finish 8-4, so they can't be in the top 20. Like, what a ridiculous way to rank preseason or rank any time. Like, record is only one small piece of the entire. I do think, I'm biased because Iowa's had a 12-0 record that was discounted by a lot of the pundits. I do think if you can make it through 12 games in a major conference, it's a huge accomplishment and should be. I think there's almost a bigger plus and there should be some sort of a reward, even if it's just a rankings reward for being able to do that. I do think that's significant. But if you were looking through these teams on here, which teams do you think are overrated based upon maybe perceived biases that you have of coaches and or even SIDs who are behind some of these votes? I was going to say SMU stands out. That's an easy one to me. Like,
all right. I thought you were going to flip it around, that since these teams are not ranked, which ones of them are being under regarded?
Oh, well, that too. Yeah, that too. I mean, can I just throw one out real quick?
Sure.
I think Memphis is a team that I looked at, well, the last 2 bowl seasons. They're a team that has G5. They're a team I could see figuring into the college football playoff conversation at the end of the year. So
Sure.
Are they one of the top 6 or 12 best teams in the country? Probably not. And so I don't want to fall into the same trap that we're denouncing, right? The projecting forward, like, oh, I'm going to put this team because I expect them to be the best group of 6 team. That means they should be in the top 25. That's not what I'm implying, but I'm just bringing it up because I do think they got a lot of talent back. They're very well coached. I could see them being in the mix and maybe the best G6 team in the country. And then, maybe a Georgia Tech, maybe a little undervalued. I don't know. I think SMU is overrated from that conference. I guess maybe I'm coming at it more from that perspective. I don't know who's, you've got top of the ACC, you got Clemson, SMU, and am I missing anybody else in that top 25?
Miami,
number
10.
10. Yep. And then you got to go all the way down to Georgia Tech. Are they the next? Louisville. Excuse me. Yeah. Louisville's on that list as well.
Yeah. When I look at the first bunch of teams outside the top 25, Missouri, I'm neutral on in terms of that placement. But I think that Oklahoma, Louisville, USC, and even through Auburn, Utah, Baylor, and Auburn are all dangerous teams that could surprise all of those teams.
Iowa? You stopped before you got to Iowa.
Stopped before Iowa.
You don't think Iowa's dangerous? I'm just curious. You don't think Iowa's dangerous
on a given shoot?
But you're not scared of Oregon. You wouldn't be scared of them. You wouldn't be scared of them. They wouldn't put the fear of nature into you like Baylor, Auburn, or Utah might.
On an individual game, on a specific game, of course, traveling to Iowa City, of course, they should be given all due respect. Anybody, if Texas is the best team in the country and they were going to Kinnick one Saturday night this season, absolutely. Is that an upset potential? Of course it is. But over the course of 12 games, I think Iowa's placed about where they should be.
Boise State's overrated too.
It's so tough once we start to mix and match group of 5 teams versus the Power 5.
I just think, again, hangover, I don't think people realize, maybe they do and they just don't care. Some people would say, well, you're discounting what the rest of that team was. Ashton Jeanty was so
sure.
I think we're going to see that in the league. I could be totally off on that. You and I have watched, even the last 10, 15 years, you and I have seen a lot of running backs in college, and especially in the Big Ten. So I can't maybe speak as much to some of these other guys like Dalvin Cook and, who's the LSU kid that was
Leonard Fournette.
Yeah. So it's like there's been a lot of Big Ten running backs that it's like you can just tell, like, that's an NFL dude. Like Christian McCaffrey, not a Big Ten back, but he was like, we knew, right? It's like, this guy's going to be a terrific NFL player. Le'Veon Bell, I remember saying that when I watched him run, like, NFL dude. Melvin Gordon, Monty, but all those guys for Wisconsin. And Ashton Jeanty's the same way. And it's so rare that you get a player like that at a Boise State. So I'm guessing they'll take a bit bigger dip. And I don't think those are the only 2 group of 6 teams in the top 25. Boise State and who am I missing? Boise State and someone else? Is that that's the only group of 5 team in the top 25. So there's only 1 team ahead of Memphis in these rankings, I guess. So yeah, I mean, I guess that's probably a fair guess. Is there anybody? Buffalo got a vote. Navy, Army
Army's
and
got
Navy.
33.
Tulane got a vote. Brendan Sullivan and Tulane. And can I tell you somebody that was missing from votes that I was surprised didn't receive some votes?
In the Big Ten?
In the Big Ten.
I
don't know that you'll get this. And maybe I'm over regarding what they did last year and what they did in the portal.
What they did last year or in the portal? Northwestern?
No, not Northwestern. Although that's a trendy one because
Wisconsin?
No, not Wisconsin. That's another trendy one. That's another one that could
Rutgers.
easily. No, not Rutgers either.
Who?
You tell me. UCLA.
Okay.
I'm not saying I think they're going to be a top 25, but receiving, I could see them getting some votes. Just, I know people, the Nico thing was very controversial and turned a lot of heads, and some people it's going to be a total disaster. But UCLA did some stuff year one in the conference. They weren't great, but they had some good wins. They thrashed the Hawks, and they bring in a guy who, had he stayed at Tennessee, was going to be a Heisman contender this year. And then, of course, all the off-field stuff and the controversy there. So I just think with the quarter, if that works, it may not. But if that works, the Nico experiment works, you've got great quarterbacks. We know what the effect great quarterbacks can have on even average programs. And they, last year, were maybe a little below average in this conference. But year two under a new head coach, getting their feet wet in the conference, plus adding him, could they make that jump? What were they 4-8 last year, or 5-7?
5-7. You don't want to hear this, Corey, but you know why they didn't get any votes?
Why?
Because of their schedule.
That's my point.
I'm telling you that
because this is coaches, though. You said the AP voters vote that way. This is the coaches poll.
But the sports information directors, they fill out most of this.
Okay, well then
If I was at 33, that means we've got roughly 45 teams listed there. UCLA is one of the 45 best teams in the country.
Correct.
And they last year, I'm looking at I know that they obviously beat Iowa. They beat Nebraska. They beat, I think, one other decent team, Rutgers, I think, was their other win in the Big Ten. They took Minnesota to the last 10 seconds of the game. They had a lead at the Rose Bowl against Minnesota. No, these people are looking at their first two games out of the gate is going to tell us a lot about UCLA.
Their schedule is rough.
They play Utah at home in the Rose Bowl to open the season.
Really hard
Then
game.
This is a tricky group of 5 game to go on the road to Vegas against UNLV and, of course, Dan Mullen. And we know how good they were last year. They almost made the playoff. Penn State, Indiana, Nebraska, Ohio State, USC, Washington. Their last 5 games are pretty rough.
And we didn't even name at Indiana. But even if Indiana's overrated, they're a top 20 team in these rankings. So,
and UCLA having to travel to the Midwest late October at Indiana, Nebraska, at Ohio State, Washington, at USC to finish the season.
So again, if you weren't watching the Iowa show, Mark and I both ripped on the premise that any voter, AP or coach, would look at a team's what they project a team's final schedule to be as some criteria for preseason rankings. It makes no sense. But I caught myself because I was about to say, well, hey, they were 5-7 last year. Would it be crazy to think they could achieve 2 or 3 more wins this year on that schedule? Maybe. I mean, I think if you get to bowl eligibility with that schedule, that's probably a win. But that doesn't mean they're not one of the top, 30 to 45 teams in the country.
I keep saying we're going to take this call, and we will. Let me make one more comment, Corey. If you're bored at any point tonight or whenever before the season starts, go to last year's standings in the Power 4 conferences. Look at all the records and try to find as many teams that you think will. Do you know where I'm headed with this? This is my famous plus or minus 3 statistic. Will either increase or decrease by 3 wins from the previous season. And it's hard because most of us tend to be conservative in our projections to find those teams, but there were 29 of them last year.
In the country.
There were 6 in the Big Ten. So find 6. What 6 teams do we think this year? Let's even say 5 teams in the Big Ten could have that drastic of a, like you were just pointing out with UCLA, thinking about, can UCLA jump to 8-4?
Yeah. You're talking total for bowl included, everything.
No, just the regular season.
Just regular
Those
season.
are the only games we know that are scheduled.
Yeah.
12 games.
Yeah, that's hard.
For me, it's Oregon. They were 12-0. Maybe they dropped to 9-3.
Right. Indiana
dropped to 8-4. But that's not even guaranteed, certainly. But yeah, they would be a
Michigan.
likely candidate.
Michigan
would have to go to 10-2.
They'd have to go to but I'm just saying, like, that's reasonable that they do that.
Yep.
Based on recent history. That's what, 3 so far from the conference.
2 more.
It would be hard to imagine Iowa doing that. It'd be hard to imagine Nebraska. I mean, Nebraska, maybe. People have been pegging them as a dark horse for the playoffs since Scott Frost got there.
they'd go to 9-3.
Yeah, so maybe. I mean, it's not crazy.
They have technically what's the easiest schedule in the Big Ten? Nebraska. Wisconsin is the toughest. Nebraska the easiest.
UCLA, maybe. But boy, that's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to get to 8-4. Now, you paused when I brought them up. You did not they were not one of your first couple of guesses. Just curious.
You know, one reason why I bypassed them was because you just missed Oregon in the rankings and you missed Washington when you went receiving votes because you forgot about them being in the Big Ten.
Well, I didn't forget about. No,
Corey's not thinking about UCLA.
No, hold on, let's not ruin the integrity of this show. I didn't forget that Oregon was in the Big Ten.
No.
When you're looking at a list, it's like,
I do the same thing.
You're used to looking at 12 teams in the conference. For you, you're probably used to looking at 8 teams in the conference.
It's called the Big Ten.
Yes. Oh, that's right. Big Ten. You're looking.
I'm used to looking at 10. Yes. All right. You ready for a call?
Sure. I got a call on me here.
We got our buddy Kaden stopping by. Kaden, what's going on?
I'm over here drinking a Mountain Dew, listening to you two talking away, and I'm like, holy moly. God almighty, what's going on the Big Ten show tonight? Woo!
All right.
I didn't know we were that far off the rails. Were we, Mark? Or were we just...
Yeah. You explain, Kaden.
So would you mind scrolling back up to the top 8 teams? Because I've got a bit of an issue here for that for the coaches preseason poll. How do you put Texas at number 1? How do you put Texas? They lost the playoffs to us. I mean, you got to be kidding me. For the coaches poll?
Well, who's us?
Oh.
Wait, real quick. Who do you play for? Who's us? No, I'm just curious. Who do you play for?
I'm a fan of Ohio State.
Oh, okay. Well, what does last year's playoff have anything to do with what we're talking about right now? What does the results of that game what does that have anything to do with what we're talking about here?
Corey, Ohio State beat Texas.
Did I question
this does not make it clear. No. Hold on, Corey. Let me explain this to you.
You didn't major in listening, did you? My question was, how does last year's national championship, how does that impact what we're talking about? This is a different year. We're talking about preseason we're talking about 2025. We're not talking about the 2024 season. So
I'll ask it this way, Kaden. Did anyone who threw or scored a touchdown in that game for Ohio State, are they coming back?
Even if they were, it's one little aspect of how we.
I'm just pointing out.
Look at preseason. That's what I'm saying, Kaden. It should be one small piece of criteria into projecting a brand new season. Like what happened last year? I mean, who cares what happened last year?
Let me get back to Mark's question. Yeah, we lost a few guys in the NFL draft, but that's what recruiting. But that's what recruiting is also for, Mark. You have to understand that in college football.
Okay, I have a recruiting. Now, Kaden, here's the deal. If you want to have a conversation about having an issue with that, then bring up recruiting. Who did Ohio State recruit to fill in those positions that somehow surmounts what Ohio State did? I don't have the answer to that question because I'm not this recruiting geek. But do you know the answer to that question? Did Ohio State have a better offseason than Texas?
In my honest opinion, Corey, yes, they did.
Okay.
Because
I don't know.
And I'll say this: the reason I say yes is because they've been doing a lot more a lot more spring. They've been doing a lot more things during spring and winter training camp, but also during the summer training camp. They did a lot more studying during the. I follow Ohio State's social media, so I pay attention to what they do.
But you're also following Texas's. What, have you been in their practice facilities?
No, wait. Real quick, just what do you? I want to know what you mean, honestly, Kaden. When you say they've done a lot more studying, what does that mean?
Studying their opponents. You know, you got to understand your opponents before the season. It doesn't hurt to pre-study your opponents for the schedule.
Right. Okay. So you're saying that Ohio State has done more of that than Texas this offseason.
But also, they're doing a lot more. They're doing a lot more boot camp style coming in early. Extra weight lift sets. They're coming in doing a lot more. They're training a lot harder. And I mean, I've seen them, you know, like I said, on their social media page, and it's unbelievable about what they're doing there. And I'm like, I got to give the boys credit. I mean, you think a championship team should rest out their title, and I'm like, no, but these boys are coming back into the weight room. They're coming back into the study room at the facility, and they're coming back to work during the wintertime, early spring, and then going into summer, now fall boot camp.
Well, I will say this, Mark, and I'm not, if somebody, and I'm not saying Kaden does or doesn't, but if somebody actually had knowledge to what he's expressing, then it's absolutely fair to influence your rankings based on what you know is happening in the offseason with how hard guys are training and how hard guys are studying. If that's actual knowledge that you can that you have observed and that you know is fact, then absolutely I agree with you, Kaden. That should be part of your criteria. But I don't want to hear about some score last year.
But you also have to know the rest of the teams in the country and what they're doing or not doing.
Well, he's comparing he's saying that Ohio State is 2 and Texas is 1, so let's just bring those two. I don't think Kaden, you're not debating that Texas is one of the 2 best teams in the country. You're just saying they shouldn't be ahead of Ohio State.
Exactly, Corey. You just put the nail on the head there. But also, you know, I've also been watching the University of Georgia's social media page because a friend of mine is a fellow fan of the University of Georgia. I will not name him on this program because Mark does not like his guts.
Are you protecting? Are you protecting?
I have no idea who you're talking about.
You're protecting his identity, Kaden. Who is this person?
I'm not protecting his identity. I just have too much respect for the guy because I've been friends with the guy for a long time. But also, he's also good friends with the guys down there.
Let me clear my name. I don't dislike anyone. I don't know who you're talking about. So anyway, go right ahead.
And he's friends with the guys on the football team at Georgia, just like how I'm friends with the guys at Ohio State. Wow. We've talked, we chit-chatted, we've talked with these guys, and then now, guess who's at Athens, during their late summer, early fall boot camp? John Gruden. John Gruden shows up at Georgia, helping these guys really get motivated and getting ready to go. Because this is a team who's been going through a lot of hardship, especially through the DUIs trouble that they've been having. Reminding these guys like, hey, we cannot be doing this stuff already. We cannot be having any more DUIs. We need to stop this crap. We are going into a new season. We are getting ready to reload. And this is a program who went back-to-back national champions. Excuse me, I had to take a burp there because I just drank the whole thing of Mountain Dew. But bottom line is, I feel like those guys are really getting in the weight room, really hammering it in, especially during the months that, you really don't think the guys are going to be in the weight room, like during early spring, mid-spring, summer. That's where people don't understand. There's teams that want to win, and there's teams that want to say, hey, we're not just the best team on the field. We're the best team in the weight room, the way we study, and the way we practice, the way we do drills. And that's the bottom line I tell anybody. And as someone who has played high school football, who understands that, in my honest opinion, that's what makes a great team. And especially when you have guys especially on the defensive side of the ball, because Ohio State and Georgia are both two of the best teams that have two of the best defenses in the country. I know that, and personally, now Mark can hate me for this and give me crap about this on social media all he wants, but I tell people, when you hear somebody say defense wins championships, Corey, yeah, I think you better listen to them loud and clear when they tell you someone's defense is winning them a championship, because Ohio State's team won them a national championship alongside their offense. Georgia's team won two national championships on their defense. They relied on their defenses to start off early in any game scenario. That's whether you play somebody like Clemson, Bama, Michigan, Texas, Ole Miss. And I'll go back to OSU. I look at OSU's schedule. Garbage. Seriously. I'm going to be honest. I thought Nebraska's schedule was garbage, but our schedule is absolute garbage. I mean, come on. Stick Iowa State. Hell, Iowa State's better than Iowa, and Corey can admit it right now. Jeez. Come on.
We don't know until they play who's better.
Yeah, they're playing week 2, and they're playing in Ames. So I guess you're going to find out.
Well, I mean, hold on. Appreciate the call.
And I'll leave you with this, Mark.
Yes.
And Corey to think about this. Watch some of the posts that both teams I told you about, Georgia and Ohio State's social media. I want you to keep an eye out, because those guys are posting constantly. So I want you to keep an eye out, because it's gonna be a good football season. I'll say go Bucks, and Hawkeyes suck. And I.
All right. It just gets to be too much. This guy's a moron. All right.
Okay. You almost let the call finish, and then you just
couldn't take it anymore.
You just couldn't. It was like, yeah.
I love Sonny's suggestion. This is what I would do if I was the social media team for a particular major college football team. I would show the guys just lounging around after practice. I would just we're not doing any work. Okay. All right. The whole inside intel argument just does not fly with me.
Well, if you're Phil Steele and he comes and says, if Phil Steele comes and says to you, I have intel and information that leads me to believe that Texas has been working substantially less than Ohio State during the offseason, I would say, okay, well, there might be some legs to that.
Yeah.
And as Sonny said in the chat, I don't know the last time we've seen a social media team like, hey, maybe here's a fine conversation. Who has a better social media team? Maybe Ohio State just has a better social media team. Or maybe that social media team just posts things that Kaden likes viewing more than the things that Texas social media posts. that might be
maybe Kaden, being the guy that picked Ohio State to win every game last year by 50 points, sees things a little bit differently than they actually appear to the rest of us. Did
he really pick them to win by 50?
Get on here and say they're going to beat Penn State by 50. I guarantee it. They're going to beat Oregon by 50. I guarantee it. Okay.
I'm so disappointed that I don't get to stay on these shows longer and get the callers that you get, because some people really have a knack for having like the longest rants and run-on sentences. Like sometimes I feel like have a hard time just carrying my own show at times talking, but some of these guys, they could get on a live show and just talk. And yeah, they might repeat the same thing 8,000 times, but it doesn't faze them. They're just going to keep going.
Yeah. And he is one of them that just likes to go on repeat constantly. So I'm setting myself up for such punishment starting here, especially in 2 weeks, because we're moving this show to 10 p.m. Eastern time. Not this show, the Big Ten Live show, but the daily show to 10 Eastern. So that's usually when the crowds are rather raucous. So, all right, Corey. I will stay on for a few minutes to see if anybody else calls, but I will let you go. Appreciate you being here.
See if anybody else calls. All right. Hey, we'll be back next week, and we'll keep doing this show into the season. And, it'll just be nice once we have football to talk about. It'll be cool to be able to actually break down performances. And I'm sure we'll do like power Maybe we could do like a dual power ratings thing where you and I can actually compare power ratings each week. That'd be kind of a fun thing to do.
Yeah,
so,
we could do that.
Be a little bit more manageable for me than a top 25. So
Big Ten power rankings.
And power ratings, for people that don't know, are different, should be different, in my opinion, than a weekly top 25. Because power ratings, at least in my estimation, traditionally reflect who has the most like current momentum, right? Like ascending. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong on that. Is there any difference to you, power ratings versus just current rankings? Like you ranked Big Ten teams after week 4 versus.
I hear what you're saying. It's nuanced, but you're not going to. If a team's got a 3-game winning streak and they lost their first 5 games in the conference, you're not just going to. There's going to be a balance there.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a trajectory involved. Yeah.
I think it's a little bit, to me, I'll tell you this. I think it accounts for injuries better. It accounts for injuries better than like rankings do. Again, this is all nuanced, but I think of like in the NBA, I look at power rankings and I don't really pay much attention to rankings in general, but I do kind of keep track of power ratings from these different journalists and services and whatnot. And you may have a Phoenix Suns team that is 20-28 on the season, not even in the playoff picture yet, but they've rattled off 6 straight wins because they got, 2 of their star players back. They may be in the top 10 overall in the NBA for power ratings, even though they're currently not in the standings. So standings and maybe that's the case. We could argue that should be the case with any team, but I think sometimes it's hard to differentiate, Mark. For me, ranking, that's one of the things that happened in Florida State, right? A couple of years ago, it's hard to evaluate a team if they've recently lost somebody and they're not going to have them moving forward, a key cog, versus, they had somebody earlier in the year, or they didn't have somebody earlier in the year now, and they've got them back. So how do we change our perspective if they've won a couple of games? I think power rankings, in my view, kind of account for that a little bit better because they're more, what have you done for me lately? Sort of. It's all nuanced.
And it also takes into account, let's say a team's 1-4 in the Big Ten, but they've played a brutal schedule and they've played really well against that schedule.
Right.
They're losing 3-point games.
Absolutely.
They're not the same as the 1-4 Rutgers team that's losing to Maryland and Indiana and whoever else.
No, you can't do that to Indiana. They're playing the playoff last year, and
I'm keeping Indiana down until they back it up.
They're going to have to back it up, yeah. So, all right, Mark. Corey. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, Corey.
Thanks.
Everyone, of course, catch Corey on From the Hawkeye of the Storm over on the Iowa channel for that Corey's built over there. Great stuff on a daily basis covering the Hawkeyes. And again, in 2 weeks, we are moving the daily show to 10 p.m. Eastern time, as you see right there on the banner. So I'll be taking your calls. And we have left the line there in the chat. So going once, going twice. And keep in mind, we've got a show you can check out that we just posted from 4 p.m. Eastern time, the live show, and then the Iowa show that we just finished with Corey as well. But Corey and I are going to be here every Tuesday, 6 p.m. Eastern, to talk Big Ten football. And then again, 2 weeks from yesterday, the 18th, we go live with the new time, 10 p.m. Eastern. That's Monday through Saturday. So that's basically 10 p.m. Eastern time or post game on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. All right, everyone. Appreciate you being here. The Voice of College Football. Call in line, going once, going twice, going 3 times. And we will see you on Wednesday.